Live, we're good.
All right, call meeting to order at 3:42. This is a workshop meeting leading into our regular joint water board meeting. The only thing that we are discussing is the IMA working group's findings on our new IMA between the city and the town of Poughkeepsie. And then when all the other board members arrive, we will roll into our regular meeting at 4:30.
So as a threshold issue, should we discuss procedure on how we're going to move forward on this, and just if we're going to do regular meetings, working group without a quorum, or what the preference is on that front?
Yeah, sure. I think a working group without a quorum could be the most effective and efficient way to move forward. We could report back to the board monthly, and I also think that there could be multiple staff from either the town or the city involved in the process as well too. So knowing that there could be scheduling difficulties to get them to function in whatever need there is, I think forming a working group, and then also identifying or spending the next half an hour identifying some specific items that we're going to work on for the remainder of the year, or at least over the next several months, will be best.
Yeah, I think that'd be a way to pick through this thing and go, because we have 2, 3, 5 different topics to kind of go through. Some of them are kind of blended together, but 5 or 6 different topics. So at that point, then we can finalize this IMA, and then that can go to the town and the city for approval.
Ultimately, we're going to recommend to both boards, and they would have to adopt, both would have to adopt the IMA in order for it to be an official IMA.
Yeah, this board would basically probably draft up a brief letter kind of giving its position on it, and then representatives from town, city would go back to either the town or city, give their opinion, and then it's really up to each municipality from there.
And I do think that some of these topics that the IMA committee brought to your attention might be things that we don't necessarily answer right away, and we move forward with an IMA to update what we currently have in place, and then bring up those bigger questions as we get further through our comprehensive facility plan evaluation. Because I think that might help answer the direction that we need to go.
So can they approve the IMA, like the town, the city, with a mind knowing that 1 or 2 of these things are up for a finalization once our comprehensive study is done? Is that how that works?
There's a couple ways to do it. We either could do this review initially, and then once we have the comprehensive facilities plan, make any changes from there that flow from that, or just simply approve this when this group is ready, send it town and city, and then from there, once we get just whatever we're provided from the actual engineer doing the comprehensive facility plan, we do an amendment. So basically it'd be an amendment to this, 6 months later, a year later, whatever the time
Exactly.
is.
The comprehensive study is 1.5 years.
That's what I thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Based on the time, that amendment probably makes sense.
So we're moving forward, we're making some changes that we feel are.
right. So if not, it just becomes a dead document, and then
Right.
we'll all forget about it,
Right.
or the board will change,
Right.
and then
Right.
then it gets lost.
But the amendment is the important part.
Yeah, we can. So even if the comprehensive facility plan was to come back and says, we need to think about, we brought all these stakeholders in, and the county really needs water, and we need to expand this plant, double the size. We need to make that decision then. At that point, is it all on the city and the towns dollar, are we bringing in more ownership bodies here at that point? Like, there's, I think, some bigger decisions that will need to be made in the coming future, but to sit and wait on this doesn't make, in my opinion, make sense. So, because our current documents are really old and we're keep coming into these little stumbling blocks where we need to get the IMA so that we can update our bylaws so that we can function better.
Right.
So,
It would make sense then to do the, what he calls on there later on, the amendments to it.
like, everything's coming all
Yeah.
at once, all at the same time, and it's.
Well,
But
I thought the IMA, I think we all thought that this agreement was going to be done last year. Obviously, it's complicated, it takes time.
Right.
So, we could start working on this. And our goal could be to have our work done before
Yeah.
the plan is updated. But
Right.
if we get the plan in, it could very well be that both, this work and that plan happen to conclude right around the same time.
Yeah, and I think the hope will be that this operative document from the board now with Jim's work, with Bill's work, is going to be pretty close to what it needs to, even with the plan once it's done. So, I mean, hopefully the amendment is, pretty nominal. Maybe it isn't, but this should be pretty solid and lead into it. I look at it like, if a town has amendments to their zoning code with an old comprehensive plan and then a year later does a new comprehensive plan, you're going to need to update your zoning code just to match that. And sometimes there's going to be a tremendous gulf and sometimes there's not. So, I mean, obviously we won't know that until we get the results on that front, but.
I think ultimately what we can decide now is looking at the overall cost sharing and finalizing our capital plan ideas.
Right.
Because who knows how long any future changes might take, so at least we can move forward with that.
Would it be worth having a conversation about what would be needed to determine what this fair rate is that could be proposed? And then, myself, I could work with our finance folks if we need to loop the town in. We could have people do various assignments between now and our next board meeting. I think if we could just, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but if we could narrow down specifically what we need to accomplish, at least figuring out the fair rate.
Yeah, because everything runs different, and one thing goes on percentage of water
Right.
use. It's like everything's different for different topics. So
Right.
We can
So,
come back with more information. I mean, the city would be happy to come back a month from now with more information about that. I would like to think that if we form a working group of sorts, we could potentially meet a few times between now and then as well. And like we talked about, just narrowing down what is needed by whom, when, I think could help us move forward in a little bit more of a quicker fashion.
Well, let's think about the first one, the ownership. Should we be 50-50? Should we be equal? I don't know.
yeah, I think,
That's a pretty big
sure is.
matzo ball.
Right.
It's-
yeah, but at the end of the day, there's not a lot of difference to it. It's
Right now, you're both using approximately the same amount of water. Like 1 year, it's a little bit less on, on one.
you can't
side,
control
it's
its usage.
Yeah,
You can't.
usage, so.
That's been a huge sticking point for how many years?
And keeping in mind, I mean, it could be, we could all agree on one thing in here, or one thing may make sense or not make sense in here, but both elected bodies wanted to ratify this as well too.
Exactly.
Right.
I think it would be
It's a matter of having the support, the information, the data that we need to share that, to make the case
Well,
one way or the other.
looping in the finance folks, I think for the working group will definitely be key.
Yeah.
And I think it would be helpful to have both town and city present that way.
Yeah.
There's just more open discussion about it. Yeah.
I mean,
I have no problem having our Commissioner of Finance come to these meetings moving forward, but I also think we could probably do a little bit of walking between them as well too.
this is one of the questions I was asking myself, 50-50, why not? 50-50. But for example, there might be some benefit to the town right now not being 50 because you
Right.
might share more costs. But that's what we want to, even though it sounds logic to 50-50, we still need to present as to the town this is the logical thing to do, but there's pros and cons. Here it is.
Well, that's where you gotta draw it out, like, what are the pros and what are the cons of
Right.
if everything's 50-50, or if it stays the way it
The
is?
reason you don't do 50-50 is so one side has the leverage. So we sold it to the town, we kept
Right.
55. So we outvote you,
Yeah.
but we can't because the board's 3-on-3. So there's no point in us paying for more when we have no more control than the town.
Exactly.
I think of
Yeah.
it, if you can figure out a way, and I think we'd have to craft it like New York State equitable divorce, it's 50-50, but it's not 50-50 of assets. I mean, maybe that's a way to figure it out as far as what you're paying. It doesn't necessarily have to be monetary payments. It could be time, different ways to, I don't know, just trying to think of a creative way to do it. I don't know. But I mean, 50-50 is the easiest. I mean, as far as simplicity, but I certainly cannot talk for either elected board in that thought.
Right, but what benefit did we get having 5 extra%? None, we just pay more.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't get an extra vote.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the city probably would, I mean, it'd be safe to assume the city wouldn't necessarily have as much of an objection to that as the town potentially would. So maybe, would you be able to speak with some of your colleagues between now and our next joint water board meeting? And
Yes.
see whether or not, there is an appetite for it.
Right.
And if there isn't, maybe what the feedback would be. Cause I think we could all agree on one thing here, but just for the sake of checking things off the list.
Yeah.
We'll know in a month whether or not 50-50 is an option. Right.
And I mean, I will definitely have the conversation. Some of the data we want to look into the population, right? It's 1995.
So then sorry, I was just thinking out loud. Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, 1995 versus now and the future, how the population changing and the consumption is changing. And then the other aspect, as far as the comprehensive plan, is something we're looking at. Can we sell water to somebody else? Or do we have the capacity? And say recently there's a talk about the Pleasant Valley the PFAS is some issue. They need to buy water and they were talking about it. So we were like wondering, are they interested to buy from us because we are approximately we are closer,
Mhm.
but apparently I heard they're buying from IPOC. That's the plan. So there are a lot of things changing. That's my point. Yeah, definitely. I think it's as a part of doing answering the first question, 50-50, we'll look into the data, what do we expect the population change and the consumption. I think that helps as well.
Yeah, but the consumption doesn't matter. But ownership of 50-50, because you take what you take and we take what we take. Actually,
Well,
we
then
take
that-
everything else.
that-
We eat the whole thing.
That eliminates the 3 million, the 3 MGD for the city and the 0.8 for the town and what our available capacity is now.
Right.
Because now it just puts us, hey, the plant's got 3.8.
Right.
It's not separating that out anymore.
Yeah, it seems like a fair way to split it. If you're gonna split, covering costs and all of that, also just splitting the capacity down the middle and.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, at least then there's a give and take with it.
Right.
Everyone kind of comes out the same, which.
And let me ask you this, when the reconciliation's done, is done on the same percentage of 48, 53 or whatever it is? It runs on that same percentage?
Yeah, so that, and that could be part of the conversation that we have finance go through so that people understand what the reconciliation does. Yeah, it is this split.
So it's kind of a pain in the butt to do the 48-53.
Yeah, I mean, for everything, even when we do capital projects and POs, we have to calculate it out so that we have two separate items.
Yeah.
It is a
Right.
little cumbersome, so it does make sense to just do. Effectively.
Yeah.
In
I mean-
many ways.
In the very beginning, they were talking about like a 3 different ownership, right?
Well,
We don't like that option.
Yeah, they
We don't like that
kind of got that confused, the third party stuff as ownership, and I mean, that. If we only, if we, went to a different level where, let's say, you're producing water for half of Dutchess County, then maybe you have another person in the mix.
But right now,
But right now, third party is third parties, and that's basically anyone that you sell to outside of the jurisdiction of the town, basically.
I think the question of ownership came in for them more so as a way to figure out figure out if there's a way to get them to add money to our capital costs and like for capital equipment, capital improvement plans. So they're only, the way the contracts read now for third party is that they only pay capital improvement costs when it has to do with a treatment process that's been changed for regulation purposes. So when we added the ozone treatment, we had to put that in place because of regulations. So they do pay capital improvements for that, but they're not paying capital improvements for our filter under drains that need to be replaced. So
That's an existing system that just needs repaired.
we have to be repaired, and that's part of our cost. So I think that was the thought under,
Is there any way to renegotiate that?
I don't know.
How do we renegotiate that deal?
Yeah, I mean,
I like that a lot.
you can always ask. I mean, that's.
So, and that might be the next question that we do, but that might be something we want to wait till after the comprehensive plan to see where we're. Maybe, I don't know,
They might not like the number after the plan.
so.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing, when you have a contract, for a term of years, however long it might be, you can always ask about an amendment. It's just up to the other, party to obviously say, yeah, we're willing to have that discussion. Or they could say, we've got a really good deal. Why would we do that?
Right.
I mean, that's what
I would
people
say,
act
of
in
course.
self-interest typically. So that's the issue there, but never hurts to ask.
That's a good place to start.
So we got about 30 minutes. Does it make sense? Just knowing that a big part of this was, discovering bylaws and needing to understand how the board works, to just hit on the responsibilities and duties of the joint board. It's kind of like a morsel we can probably hit pretty quickly, and then from there, I can kind of take that as marching orders to put the bylaws into place.
Yeah. What page is that?
That's 7.
7? Oh.
And I have the original bylaws if anybody.
Yeah, I have them in my thing here somewhere too. May I read all these out loud? Do they? Is that, I don't know. I'm like. So. Take that as a yes, no?
Maybe let's start at 4-1 and then
Okay,
4-1-1 to 4-1-6. Everyone just read it, and then if anyone has any changes, comments, thoughts, just kind of morsel by morsel.
Should I read it for the folks out there in TV land?
Oh, yeah, you probably
Should I
should.
read it?
Yeah.
Okay. The joint water project shall be administered by a joint board to be known as the Poughkeepsie's Joint Water Board or the Joint Board. 4.1, the joint board shall consist of 6 members, 3 selected by the city and 3 selected by the town in their discretion. Each member shall have 1 vote.
Should we have a provision for a tiebreaker? Right now, it's 3-3 still, maybe walk out the door, nothing gets done.
I wonder, I feel like we talked about that and it might there might be something.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-3, okay, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
See you next meeting.
Which is nothing to be here. So it's-
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying, that's how we got here.
Yeah, we might need to,
Sounds like I volunteered for the partnership agreement redraft committee for my firm, and we spent about probably 20 hours going back and forth on how to tie break for votes, which 20 attorneys discussing that.
Yeah,
we
it's,
should come up with something, and I don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a
in
note.
Other spots, it might be that we talked about what happens, but.
because since as long as I've been on the board, it's always, I mean, on the first couple of years, it was 3-3 vote. Everybody's pissed off, walk out the door and nothing got done for years.
Yeah, just typically if you have a vote that's 3-3, that would be technically just a dismissal of it, that you're saying no. So, I mean, I think typically how it's done is just that it didn't carry, so it's a no. And you can bring it up again and see if people change their opinion, but that's kind of the ticket.
Because this was one of the things, like, should we redo the IMA? Yes, no, okay, not, let's walk out the door. It just,
Oh, really?
The only one that you could, that would have to be the tiebreaker, would that be the plan administrator? That would have to be the person that would break the tie, only because they're the only ones going to care about what goes on with the plant. That's where they come from.
Oh, you think?
At the same
That's a
time,
tough
it's
position.
my
Yeah.
boss, So.
Right, no, but I'm just saying
you know,
because
I report to you as.
I know, but like who else that sits on here would be a person that would put it on to do being that, because what the background and what they're coming from.
or you can have 3 votes with the chair, vice chair and the secretary. That'd always be 2-1.
I mean, majority
So
say,
it's all dependent on who's more than likely in power.
Yeah, yeah. But at least something will
Something
get
get
done.
Yeah,
But we're not making a decision on money here.
true, true.
Well, it depends what you're voting on.
I mean, but
Yeah, but we never vote on,
You could be, if you had a 3-3, you could be voting on a capital improvement or doing a promotion or something like that, which that would affect all that stuff, right?
yeah, but no, the capital improvement has to be approved by the town and the city.
Yeah,
Right.
but we have to approve it here to go there.
Right.
If we can't,
So if it comes 3-3, what happens?
but I do think.
Nothing gets done.
yeah, exactly, it goes dead in the water.
So I'm sorry. No, I was gonna say, I think for like our operating budget, I think we have in there that if it's not approved or there's a tie, then it's whatever I decide to be the operating budget is, and then it goes to the council. So in that case, I do remember us putting that in there. I don't think we talked about capital improvement projects though. So.
Or
Same
anything,
thing. Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, so just doing a quick Google search with the resources I have, the way it works for villages, under the village law, is that if the board has a tiebreaker, then the village mayor then breaks the tie. I don't know, is it the same for the city or city typically?
It depends on the form of government.
So say
It
town
wouldn't be the
is,
case, it wouldn't be the case in Poughkeepsie because the mayor and I aren't on the council. The mayor's not a vote on the council.
okay,
but
yeah,
the mayor has to veto.
because the town, yeah, because
We
like
don't
the
have
town-
veto.
Yeah, town, it would just be a no.
Yeah.
Zoning board, ZBAs, it's a
Right.
no.
Right.
So, this is like almost a quasi municipal board when you think about it. So it doesn't fit any of this criteria. So I think based on that, there's nothing in the general municipal law about tiebreakers. So I think you would have some level of discretion in deciding how to do it, whether it's just adding a provision that if it's 3-3, it's a no, or if you want to brainstorm a tiebreaker. I mean, that's just figuring out a way that it would work, though. Because I mean, it is a tough position as administrator to get, to be the tiebreaker, because the board is, technically your
Employer.
gonna upset at least 3.
See, with all the respect, mostly the employees are somewhat, I mean, I consider as a city, somewhat taking, city employees. So if something favored to city, you might lean into, that's how the town may look into, right? Could see.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put Dottie in that position. I wouldn't want to put her in that
Right, no.
position at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the most interesting or compelling argument among the 20 different attorneys you were talking to about as it relates to your firm?
So we had all, it really depended on age and how much equity they had. So the more equity, the more they wanted it to be based on your equity in the firm. The less equity, the more you said one, but you cut out non-equity partners. So if you have a tiebreaker, you say, all right, if you're non-equity, you're not part of this vote.
Right.
Equity decides, and then your transitional non-equity was a mix of the three.
That's where you could break this up into where you get A, B, or C for what the votes are on. If it's capital, you could break, and then
Right.
you could break that out right there as to what, say the plan administrator can be the break on, where it's something that he can't, then it's just us have to, get it straightened up, and figure out what,
Yeah, I mean, here is my take on, so when you have a deadlock, 3-3, yeah, understand, that you can't get anything done. But at the same time, both sides could be like a stubborn. The idea is the, compromise, you need to work together. Come to a middle ground.
For 4 years, it was 3-3.
That's
And we
experience.
walked out the door.
Yeah.
4 years.
So what did you do
Oh,
over the course of the 4 years? How did the capital projects get advanced?
That's
didn't.
the problem.
They ended up in the budget.
It
Yeah.
budget, and then the budget would get slashed, so then things wouldn't get done, or then we were,
And it, in emergency
it was-
mode and everything.
Exactly, emergency, we're going into contingency, so it was a struggle.
I mean, it could go to a mandate or something, other bodies, adding more bodies to equally, I don't know.
We did discuss, I can't remember exactly what section it was, but there is a provision we put in as far as appointing like a mediator or something
Get rid
like
of
that.
it.
Yeah, so
This is the section.
I'm going with the coin toss. I don't care. We could do a coin toss, something. Like, something's got to get done.
That's why I say, like, you could put it on here, that when, if you do get in those situations where you're done there, like, that regardless, if it's a capital plan or whatever it is, it proceeds. Rather as the board can agree or not disagree. I don't know. I'm just saying, but you can say no matter what, if the board can't,
Though?
I don't know, like,
Yeah.
because but if it's in here saying, listen, if it's, I'm sure it'd be wording and all that stuff, that if it's a capital project that is due to failure, emergency, whatever,
Right.
a guideline
Right.
that,
If
listen,
it's a tie, it's a yes.
yeah, if and you can't make up your mind, but it has to get done. It has to proceed, and I don't know if that's gonna make it 10 times longer because you got criteria it's gotta meet, but maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking.
It's, I would think that it would be harder to get past the other boards. and
Yeah,
councils.
because if we couldn't agree on it here, then how are we gonna agree on it?
It's gonna be, you'll never get it through any other body, so,
politicized.
wonder if instead, if we wanted to do something like, if you're tied on a vote more than twice, that there's a special meeting called or something like that, where we
Yeah.
do like a special workshop or presentation, something in addition to kind of force the compromise a
Okay.
little
Right.
bit.
Yes,
That's cool.
And,
right.
so
Well,
that
that'd
the
be-
discussion doesn't
if I
end
look-
every single month.
Like going to something like this right now, like going to what we're sitting right now, workshop, just, okay, we gotta hash it out. And obviously, in that normal time, normal business in this, you can't do it all, so you have a workshop, so that way you get through the workshop and then
As it
That's
relates to go ahead.
That's exactly what we did at the UN. And the Security Council, we have 5 countries, including US. We always have a veto power. We go to war, we just veto. Russia, China. So that's the thing. So we pass a resolution that, and you veto, you need to come to the General Assembly. You need to explain to the all the 194 countries. So then everybody shows the objection. It's just to make you like, hey, you can't just cowardly vote and run away. You just like, you have to own it. So I really like your idea. That's a process. I mean, my concern also, you have a really valid objection, but somebody take the win. It may be totally unfair for the others because say we are 50-50 owners and then totally somebody need to take a loss. That's unfair instead of like some compromise done so that workshop process or something. At least we tried.
Yeah.
You can just write it in here that if you hit a spot where, you know, you got half and half going, it automatically trips. We're going to a special meeting regardless.
Yes.
That just tripped it in there, like,
Mhm.
and then you know right there what you're going into next.
And that's almost a carrot to get it done too.
Right, if not, okay, now we gotta meet again, and now we're coming in earlier to sit here and hash through this. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
either the following month or sooner, you know, depending on the urgency of what's being discussed.
Yeah, almost like a hybrid between the two or the different options what we're talking about. So, you know, as it relates to life and safety of the plant and operations and its employees or whatever the definition is, in the event of a tie, then those types of votes automatically generate what we're talking about. Whereas, you know, we could have a tie vote on
The
whether or not
Colorado-
the retention policy, which, you know, we don't need to prompt, you know, a whole big debacle, but as it relates to X, Y, and Z.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And I think anything emergency shouldn't be on the board, or how does it work? I mean, that should,
Still gotta allocate the funds. It's still gotta go to the,
right. I mean, that's the thing, like you can't wait. We can't wait some decisions to make, especially when things are broken.
Yeah, but
You need to have a
Yeah,
You have
there's
the
certain times. where
executive
that-
decision.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that when that hits the fan on that level, like, it's get it done, we'll figure it out after the fact, right? It's not,
yeah.
it's not like, oh, we gotta wait for another meeting to figure out, yeah, no, we're not gonna stop making water and stuff like that, so we gotta
Yeah,
get stuff done, so let's figure it out when smoke clears.
You have the executive provision. Okay.
All right, good. So we'll do that.
Okay.
Maybe at the next meeting, we can come up, do you think you'd be able to have some type of definition of what the vote would be that would prompt that?
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we'll go with that. Let's try and get through
More than three
the
bullet points.
responsibilities. Anyone have, each member has one vote? Yeah.
so each member shall have one vote. The joint board shall adopt, update, and make public annually bylaws which shall be consistent with this agreement and Article 5G of the General Municipal Law. A joint board member appointed by either the city or the town shall serve for a designated term of 1 year. There shall be no limit to the number of terms a member may serve. The joint board shall annually select from among its members a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary. And joint board vacancies shall be filled by the municipality which had previously filled the position on the joint board. Members appointed to fill a vacancy shall serve out the remainder of a term. Member being replaced. So we did leave in here, I remember this discussion, we left in that it's up to the municipality's discretion to appoint the person that they want. And I think the city might have in the charter, but I will say it is very helpful when we have people that have a vested interest and looking to move things forward. So.
Should there be something in here that says that if the member, the appointee does not show up to meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should probably.
That if they are, you know,
We'll have-
absent for 3 or more meetings, or I don't know what number
I
you
think
use.
three or more is.
You know, then it's like, okay, listen, we're
Consecutively?
calling you up there, listen, you know, we're calling your boss, like,
Yeah.
you gotta send someone who's gonna be productive, because if not,
Yeah.
this ain't working. Cause neither side can work at that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know what,
Three more unexcused absences. Even want to go there, or you just want to say three or more?
I don't, that becomes a whole slippery
Yeah.
slope of,
Yeah. You want to make them consecutive? You want to make it for the whole year?
Maybe we,
Charters, and the only reason I'm asking is because there's a bunch of different charters with a bunch of different ways of deciphering.
yeah, how about we use the word may? Because then let's say someone gets sick, you know, serious illness, they miss 4 months, but they're invested, they want to be here. The board in its discretion can say, okay, they're not here because of,
they have
Good reason.
severe illness.
but if someone's just not showing up, then you can say, all right, you know, in our discretion, this is.
So everyone's gonna give an
ridiculous.
excuse of why they're not coming.
Yeah,
But can this board dismiss a member because they're appointed by the municipality?
It'd be the appointing authority.
I think, so I believe this happened once before where Randy told me what they did was, they wrote a letter to the member and then to the representative town and city, and then requested a new member be chosen.
I think you wouldn't even contact them. I mean, you would be like, hey, I'm calling the supervisor or the mayor. Or I'm emailing, whatever the form of communication is gonna be, and saying, hey, we need a new representative. This region leader hasn't attended A, B, and C, and, you know, we're not fulfilling our duties of the board because we're missing the appointee.
I think that makes sense. As a not-for-profit museum board member that has not been to a meeting in 8 months. Probably makes sense.
I mean, one of the boards I work with, 50% of the time, if you miss, they will fire you. But they have the rights, I would put it in the bylaw.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't volunteer, this is work.
So, I mean, that's volunteer
Have to be
too.
the municipality, but
Yeah,
it
but
makes
my
sense.
point is like out of 12 meetings, 6 meetings you didn't show up. It's bad for the town or the city, not, not just the less people is better in a way.
There he is.
Yeah, how you, Bill? Am I late?
You're late.
Am I?
Yeah,
What time's the meeting start?
12:00.
Been here a long time.
3:30. We started at 3:30 as a workshop
Oh, jeez.
to start going over
Okay,
all your good stuff you have
Okay.
here.
all right.
So, and then we just kind of talked about it for a little while, and we just jumped into responsibilities of the joint board, and we're just kind of
Okay,
picking through that.
do you have any questions?
Not on that part.
Okay, all right. I apologize for being late.
No problem, no problem.
Normally for the rain.
All right, so we wanna basically we wanna do it in between 4.2, well, I'm not sure where you wanna place that. Whatever that gets to be done.
It could probably be its own separate number at some point, or
Okay,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe just do 4.17, because it kind of flows after 0.6. I mean, as far as the appointing power and then removal power. Or removal recommendation, you should call it.
Mhm.
you said 4.27?
4.17.
And any changes we're discussing, I'm writing in here, and then I'll prepare just an updated red line and circulate that as we go.
So we're at 4.2.1, that where we're at now?
Yeah.
So the board shall have the following powers and duties. And the city and town delegate such powers and duties to the joint board. There's a whole bunch of them. First one is to meet as necessary, but at least once a month. The meeting shall not conflict with regularly scheduled meetings of the common council of the city or town board of the town. To annually review and revise, if necessary, bylaws that will facilitate the satisfaction of all joint board responsibilities. To review proposed annual budgets prepared by the water plant administrator and to make recommendations to the city and town in regard thereto. To describe the need for capital projects, to review proposed capital expenditures not included in the annual budget, and to make recommendations to the city and town in regard thereto. To review the appointment of the capital costs to each party, including third-party purchasers.
What does that mean?
That would mean that if I would take that as if they were financially supporting the capital project.
Yeah.
So that's that situation where they would,
Percentage.
Percentage.
Yeah.
their percentage, okay.
So determining that when we do a capital project, that both parties agree to the split.
Do we want to say how we notify the third party of their cost?
Is there a cost now?
Well, the only one that they're getting, there's cost for is the ozone.
How do we notify them? How do we say, okay, you're responsible for this much money?
Cause that would be an amendment to their contract,
Done
right?
At the beginning, I don't know, I wasn't here, well, I wasn't involved
No.
in that at that point, but there was probably a letter at some point that determined what that cost is, and I can look back.
So should we put that? Take the third party capital costs and make the recommendation to the third party of their payment? Because if there's a problem, we gotta deal with that.
Right.
So how does it also, sorry,
Yeah, no.
how does so that is a third party, we own that, or is it something third party own, the ozone?
We own it. We installed it in the facility. It's ours. I mean, besides the
Right.
liquid oxygen tank, that's like, we pay service for that, but, the treatment process, the building of the ozone building and the implementation of the whole thing, a portion of it is charged to the county,
Okay.
for that, because it was
Do they ever fight us on any of that stuff?
no, not that I'm aware of, but, it was needed to reduce disinfection byproducts,
Hello.
which was an issue that they were having in their, their water, so I can't say that. But yeah, I don't really know, if there's ever a.
I'm just like wondering how we say like, here's the bill, like, they're just going
Yeah,
about their
I mean, it's-
business, all of a sudden they get a invoice from the joint water board.
So right now it's as an additional item, so I think I wanna say it's probably like $8,000 or something like that each month. I could be wrong, I can't remember, but it's just another item was determined at some point. It's the same fee over the course of specific timeframe.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be in the specific contract with the third
Mhm.
party. So this really is just kind of saying, it's gonna be your duty to review this, do the apportionments, but I think that part definitely will be in a separate contract. So that should all be covered as far as like
Right.
timing to send it.
Yeah.
But I don't think this would be the section to put it
Okay.
in.
But if you're, I might be confused, but if you're billing them for their for the improvement that you're doing on the facility that you own, wouldn't you be raising their rates to cover that versus a bill, which because they're paying for something you've done that makes them like an owner of it when you read it that way, because they're paying for the capital to get done
So
versus you would be raising their rate because then they're paying that way rather than a direct. I don't know, and I'm just
is
you.
so their rate is really just going up annually based on the CPI
Right.
calculations.
Yeah, I get that. I just like it feels like if you're saying, hey, you got to pay, X amount of money to us because we're doing an improvement on our facility.
It's like
that
tenant improvements almost and like.
Then you gotta keep
Commercial
track of the
lease,
time,
way to
you
think.
gotta keep track of the time of the cost.
I think that's why it's based on specifically to meet water quality standards and not just our regular upgrade of our filters or whatever. And I think that's probably goes to that.
so like even the filters that they get.
No, they're not being charged for capital upgrades of the filters, but they were because of water quality regulations. So that's like normal upkeep. Our filter under drains needs to be replaced because they're failing, so it's normal upkeep of our.
So the only time this comes into play is when it's a regulatory thing.
When it's when a new treatment process or something else has been done so that to meet regulations. So if we all of a sudden needed to
This should,
put, desalinization in order to.
Right,
handle
right,
the
right.
High levels
Right.
of sodium. and
so this would probably say,
be able to say, okay, you need to take a portion of whatever.
this should probably say that to meet a regulatory needs.
Which is in the contract, so it probably should just say, including third-party purchasers per contract, whatever. I think that might be a better. way.
Just so it's clear, so like you don't think of every capital project, you're like, okay, you got a bunch of money. Because we think of something as capital, but then what this falls for is something.
That's my point. Just because how do we say, hey,
But that's why it'd be regulatory, not just capital, because it's a regulatory that we gotta put in another train, or we gotta we gotta do another form of treatment that's regulatory. So this should indicate regulatory, so that way it's not confused as a capital project that just goes on. Cause then if not, then every capital project that you were doing, you'd be telling,
Yeah,
you'd be saying, hey, you owe us that amount of money for upkeep or doing what we're doing here as part of our stuff.
Well, I don't think this is saying you have to do anything as a board. It's just saying you have the power. So this is just going through the powers. So you have the power to just say, all right, we're apportioning it to the city at 50 or 52 and then the town at 48.
Yeah.
So I think that would all be separate contracts.
When this document was written, we.
I want to send Jonathan a bill.
Yeah.
The group tried to make it detailed enough so that we can know what we need to do, but at the same time not be so prescriptive that it forces you to like, you know, have every number, every, single step listed. I think if you were to include the wording of the per contract, then it makes you refer back to that contract in order to identify what the rule is for that. I mean, right now, the county is our only third party, but what if Wappingers comes into play again? So, their contract may be different. So I think, in this case, adding just a few more words.
I agree. Just to give a little bit of clarification to it. So that way it's not,
Yeah. Great.
Barb, we were going through stuff.
I'm sorry, I had a faculty meeting.
No, I know that. Yeah, no, so we just started kind of just picking through stuff until, basically as a workshop, that's how we open the meeting up. So that 4:30, we'll switch gears and just go into our normal agenda. So.
Reach for it.
Yeah, okay. So at this point, we're gonna postpone working on our IMA. Proposed IMA, and we are going to roll into our current agenda for the joint water board meeting. As I get back to my pages here. So, then it is 4:28. June 1st, in our agenda, we have this overview, we have public participation, the approval of May minutes, bank status for operating budget status, old business, engineering update, filter project, comprehensive facility plan, draft AMI review, and new business is what we have on our agenda. And do we have public participation today? No, everyone's quiet over there, shaking their heads. All right. So we'll move on to approval of May 4th minutes. Can I get a motion for approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Dottie, plant status report.
Okay. So overall, May was operating normally. We actually saw our overall compare May's production volume of May 2026 to May of 2025. We saw another 5% reduction in total volume, which I think is great. I think that could be some of those leaks that were found in the city, which is excellent. So that number is finally showing its head. So overall, our maximum flow of the month was 15 million gallons per day. So we're already beginning to creep up a little bit in our production rates. As far as some of the other things that occurred here at the plant, low lift pump number 2 was removed and sent out for service. This pump, if you remember, last year we had an issue. It was whipping, and then we were getting ready to send it out, but then we had another one break completely. So it's been held together over the past several months, but now it's finally been removed. Unfortunately, the original estimate was $33,600, but now that it's in the shop, it's $45,725. One thing I did want to mention, just because our maintenance supervisor has brought it to my attention, that as we move forward in the future, that we need to think about the access to our low lift, especially when it becomes when we're removing these big pumps. I did not include the picture this time, but the pumps, the pumps are very, very large. They have, the wells are deep. So these large flatbed trucks have to come in with a big giant crane in order to pull them out of the roof of the building. The pump winds up kind of traveling over the river at points in order to get it onto the flatbed. So, we're all just, concerned that with time, we want to make sure that we still have access to the low lift as things get developed in the area. We need to make sure that we have the ability to get those cranes and flatbeds down because they come through over by the train tracks on the other side by North Water Street and through like the boathouse area.
We currently have an easement for that.
That's what I was saying. We should have easements that protect us on that.
We should.
We have guaranteed access regardless.
So it's a coordination effort and maybe that's something we can discuss separately on how we can make sure we can do that. The park is apparently our property, which I just recently found that out. We agreed to make it the park area. Marist, I think, ultimately paid for it or got a grant for that. So, we need to, apparently in the past, we've brought those cranes in, the ground was kicked up and destroyed a little bit. They had to refix the grass. So we want to try to keep that in mind, I guess. And so far they've been great. The new Marist people that we have contact with have been very nice. So some of the relationships have changed a bit there. Just want to keep that in mind moving forward. Let's see. The other thing that happened this month was our septic system backed up. So we had to have somebody come and pump the system. We did have some septic repairs on our capital budget.
They
That
had
was approved
replacement of
last time.
fields.
Yeah,
You know,
so,
we own a wastewater treatment plant right down the road.
so they never wanted to pay.
So you're talking about like the bathrooms and stuff, the facilities, correct? That's what goes into the septic here?
Septic.
Is there a secondary septic pad here or is there just the existing?
That's a question that I do not have an answer to. We'll have to talk with Brian and Joe about that.
Because that's a whole nother thing. I mean, it might be more beneficial in some aspects to try to figure out how to get it to the
I
sewer,
would think so.
rather than because you do the hoops you're gonna go through, because if you're not using the existing, then you gotta have a new septic pad plus room for a failure in the future
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
So those are questions that we can probably talk with Brian and Joe.
Right.
Yeah,
And it was,
we put a small pump station in to
right,
just
you
get the
need
bathroom.
one pump station to get to, yeah.
Because I would assume Marist has sewer. They're not running on septic, so it shouldn't be too burdensome to
Right.
connect.
Right, but then you need a sewer meter because now you are going into their sewer and water are based, their sewer is based on their water usage. So now you'd be adding more.
But that might be cheaper then.
Just depends how far the
Yeah.
hookup is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be the key
Where
part.
depending whatever the closest the sewer city line is to get to.
Marist also needs water, so we have a little negotiating.
Right. But a small pump station to pump up to wherever we could grab onto theirs, depending might be more
Let
of
me look at
a,
that, Dale. Let me look at that. Make a note.
Yeah, it definitely, Brian and Joe can definitely talk about what that.
Yeah, I can talk to Joey.
Yeah.
that could take one thing off the capital list.
Yeah, I mean, that could be great, because we're gonna have to do some additional work in order to, whatever, do some repairs that were potentially being done this year, but if that's something we could do.
Yeah, we figured that out.
Let's look at that.
Yeah. And then the other big thing that was being done is there is actually no telephones in the ozone building, so they never installed them. And this year, our guys were just this past month pulling telephone wires and running new ones over to the sludge plant first, and then they're gonna run them over to the ozone building. So because it's a big giant concrete building, there's very little cell service in there too, so those having phones is important.
Was that like
I mean, I done.
was that like a look over when they
They give us looked over. I don't
when
think,
they didn't think about the,
yeah, we haven't really thought about it. We all have our cell phones too, so it's not, it was a huge thing, but there's very little service in there.
Right.
And then we just went through and finalized our chemical bids, so those will be taken off this month, so. We did get some reduction in our phosphate, but everybody else, it was a little bit more, so. It's good.
Operating budget status?
We're actually in pretty good shape. We're about, when I did this, we're at 41% a year. And at 31% of our budget is expended so far. The worst spending line is our gas, utility, so. I just got a bill today, getting to be on the decline, so. We will get to nothing, we just turned off, I think. The systems we did past, so.
Okay, on to old business. Engineering update. We don't have an engineer.
Aaron's in the waiting room, it says.
Oh. Oh, hey.
She had to do other stuff.
Erin, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So sorry, it just was spinning for so long. I wasn't sure if I was at the right link. So thanks so much.
So you're just in time. So we just hit the engineering update spot. So, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to share about the filter project or the comprehensive facility plan. I know for comprehensive facility plan, we're still working on getting the contracts, signed. Dylan reviewed the one for Hazen and Sawyer, so, we're just having the city, council look at it as well, make sure that everything looks good, and we'll go from there.
I just spoke to Rob and he is very Hazen Sawyer, very interested in getting going. So he is about 20 feet from me right now. I'm attending a conference in Saratoga. So several of you probably saw one of the things we needed to do today, do last week, by the 29th, was we renewed our IUP listing. We can do this. We don't have a final financing agreement at this point. And we had been instructed by the health department, oh, if the number hasn't changed, you don't need to do it. However, this year there is a specific section for, we'd like funding specifically regarding emerging contaminants. And it's been clarified that HABs are absolutely emerging contaminants. So, so we redid the IUP listing just to emphasize, while we haven't been successful so far in getting grant funding for this project, we have, loan funding. I felt like it was important to resubmit this to designate we are a project that is impacted by emerging contaminants. So that was submitted. Also in the time frame, I think we have identified that now the town has completed or is very close to completing their bond activities. That was the only thing that was missing from the financing applications. So I'll work with the town to get those documents submitted to EFC. But as from a funding perspective, with the filter project, that's the biggest goal. Within this next month, we should start developing what is going to be our bidding schedule. But we don't want to rush that too much because we want to get through closing with the financing before, we're going out to bid. So, and that isn't, they've been clear that won't happen till the end of August or beginning of September. So. I think from a filter project engineering update, that's a good summary. Is there any questions on that?
Erin, what do you need me to do, if anything, to help move the next step along?
No, we are holding up by financing right now. So, and if something comes up, Dottie, I'll let you know. I copy you on everything, but I think we all came to the same conclusion that that was the one piece missing, was the town bonding process. That has now happened. So I think we're in good shape, other than they just don't have a closing schedule until after the summer. And that's just the pattern that they go with. So there's nothing we can do on this end to make that move any faster.
But we do wanna go out to bid before we close that, so, or, right, isn't that?
No, I don't think
No,
we can do that.
okay, so we're,
Can't do that.
okay, so we're gonna close first and then go out. to bid.
We can talk more about this with EFC if they want. We could go out to bid, not go to contract, then close if we can time it really correctly. So then the financing would have the final number that we're looking for, or with contingency. There's contingency built in now, so there's probably limited value to doing that. We just don't want to miss another closing date. That's our top priority.
All right. Draft IMA review.
It was on a provision.
Yeah,
But I do think we should discuss at the beginning of the meeting, we had discussed potentially changing to like a workshop structure, and I think we should just make sure that we have that and discuss with the full board that's present. And make sure everybody's on board and come up with the next dates and times that whatever the next step is.
Yeah, the thought process was to set up a 3-person working group so we don't have a quorum that can meet once, twice, as many times as possible. Just to review, go through the IMA drafts, come up with any questions, and theoretically this would be interfacing with Jim and Bill as necessary, and also finance, possibly other folks from the town and city. So I guess on that front, the question would be, is the rest of the board good with that concept? And then do we have 3 volunteers? Or do we have to draw
Just
straws?
sorry that I missed the first hour, but this would replace the 3:30 meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I would volunteer for that.
Yeah. I think everybody wants to do it.
That's why. That's why like the 3:30 meeting kind of works, because like if you can get here and you just kind of start working through it. Because, then you're.
Yeah, if everyone wants to do it, I mean, we can just continue doing it the same way then. I mean, that's certainly.
Yeah, we could, but we have to be committed to that. We got through 0.5% of the things that we need to get done today.
About a page and a quarter.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's also the first time getting going too, is trying to figure out our direction, what we're doing too, where we know we come in, hey, we're picking up here, we're going through. Like that's.
I agree.
Now we have a direction to go and it can be quicker. But we're also deciding things too.
Right.
You're making things you want to add in here and stuff like that. And we still haven't even dug back into the 7 questions that are sitting in there.
Right.
But the other guys have for us.
I don't mind coming at 3:30. This was my last faculty meeting of the year, so I can make all the other ones.
So we're just like, kind of work. We roll 4:30, we stop, we roll into this and, we made some headway.
So then I guess what we could do is we could keep it the way it is, and then if additional people could come to the 3:30 meeting, then so be it. The concern initially was whether or not there would be a quorum, or if we'd be able to maintain a quorum. There's nothing preventing us from going back to our respective entities and requesting X, Y, and Z from finance or the comptroller's office and doing whatever else is needed.
And it's not to say we couldn't also run another workshop
Right.
some point during the month if we know we want to get finance involved or
Right.
or mayor, supervisor, wherever it may be. Like, hey, we want to meet on this day or some point and have a little workshop. Do that too. I don't know if there's any. Is there any public? Does that go on with that? Any?
Yeah, the public meetings law, is there any
Yeah, so
problem?
that definitely got messed up this month and I apologize for that.
What
As far as I was calling it a special meeting and we didn't, even the time change of the 3:30 meeting, I guess, should have been publicly noticed in papers and I didn't
That's all.
know that, did not realize it, so it was not done. but Dylan talks and stuff, so.
Yeah, we got it moving forward. But if we were to do a working group and there's a quorum, you'd still have to have
Right.
it open to the public.
Yeah, which we could have the Zoom on. I mean, it's not. And
Yeah, and if anyone wants to show up and come watch, you know,
yeah, listen to us
certainly
go back and forth and think out loud is what we're doing. So it's not like we're voting on anything or anything of that nature. We're just, this the only topic we're working on is this.
This is the last week that I have to be up in Albany for my other job. So I could make 3:30 for the rest of the year.
Cool.
So cool.
Here we go.
So if we announce it as a meeting and we don't have a quorum, there's only three of us that show up, we can still go,
Yeah, you can
right?
discuss, work through
The
everything.
work can still get done. That's, it's like,
The goal is to get work done.
Right.
That we don't, no one wants to see it
Right.
sit stagnant.
show them and just say, damn, we can't do nothing.
Yeah.
It was a meeting and there's no quorum.
Right.
We just want to be able to roll, be able to work if nobody's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will formally make the notice out there in the world that we're moving our start time to 3:30 for our regular monthly meetings. And
So then we'll make a change to the agenda. Next meeting is July 6th at 3:30.
So,
I know we're all in agreement, but do I need to make a formal vote? Like, does that matter?
I mean, for me, the meeting continued to be at 4:30, but we have a workshop at 3:30. Since we have a quorum, we will, publicly serve a live stream, but the meeting continued to be 4:30. I think, is that right? Right.
Correct, yep.
Because we're not doing it with just three people.
Right,
If it was three people, we wouldn't have to publicly announce it.
right.
Because it's the whole quorum and
Yes.
And then today, like we called our workshop to order at 3:30 or 3:40, whatever it was. And then we said right at the beginning that we're gonna roll right into our regular meeting at 4:30, which we did.
Right.
We and went over the agenda and then proceeded forward. So, that's.
Is it worth always including, we wanted to continue, let's say we're on board for sticking around for another half hour, 45 minutes or whatever to get through a few more items. Do I need to put that on the agenda again, or like I have it currently?
I would just keep, I would put like workshop on IMA up front on the agenda, and then in old business, just keep IMA work group there. That way, if we want
Just like
to
this,
working with,
draft IMA review.
yeah, we can do the same thing.
So you want
Yeah,
to roll back into it or something and,
Continue.
yeah, that's just keeps it open. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Second.
So do we want to, so do we want to have a motion to start our meetings at 4:30?
3:30.
So 3:30, sorry. So that's, I just said that wrong.
Workshop.
Our workshop meeting starting at 3:30, followed by our normal agenda meeting at 4:30.
Second.
All in favor? Is there any opposed? Okay. We could start at 3:30.
Okay.
Is there any new business? New business? Okay,
I had something on the minutes from the previous meeting. It had me listed as absent, but I was here.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
so do we gotta make a motion to make a change because we accepted them in the beginning?
yes, yeah, just a motion to make that change, and then
So we have to make a motion to amend the May minutes to that Daniel was present.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, amendment made.
Oh, yeah, that's what. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a good thing you weren't.
I'm so
But
glad.
then we all wouldn't be.
yeah.
All right, if we don't have any,
I have a question, maybe it's a new business. I just want to know if the timeline when we do the audit, year-end financial and audit, if we can do it a little earlier because we don't have to delay the annual financial reporting filing to the controller, that we are always delay because we wait until the audits are done. But you don't have to wait until the audit's done, but then you have to go back and forth multiple times. We're trying to see, talking to the municipal, the tri-municipal, and also the board, if we can do it a little earlier, so we couldn't file the report.
That would have to be a discussion with the city.
Yeah, 'cause it's all through,
They're the ones who handle.
what's the other company?
Yeah, we just did one the other way, didn't we?
Right.
Because there wasn't enough time to do the audit.
Yeah,
They wanted it in March or whatever, but we couldn't.
Right.
Get it done.
Yeah,
Can we, someone can from the city find out?
It's gonna be very difficult for the city to do that.
Okay.
I'd be happy to speak further with the finance commissioner, but we have a number of different audits and it was timed out the way it is. I think that we just came to this conclusion about doing it this way, I think last year. So
I think that, sorry, Joe.
that's all good. Yeah, I'm done.
I think that it is basically the same issue for the town. That the audit is gonna take a bit longer.
Right.
So why, how did Mendel explain it to us? Why put it through the AFR and then the
Yeah.
audit's not done?
Right.
So then it comes back to the audit and then you have to resubmit to the AFR.
They've done that for years. They've waited for years to get that done, and then they send everything in.
You've just been hearing from a whole bunch of two constituents that are upset. That it happens that way. We're trying to explain to them, everybody does it that way,
Yeah,
but they're still upset.
The controller's office, they make a nice and naughty list, and they put always, the last couple of years, they're putting us in a naughty list. So that disturbs some constituents, so we have to give explanation, we have to, I mean, I talk to you and you give a feedback, you know, so I can kind of explain to them, this is the reason we are delaying, it's not because we just take it easy. Thank you,
right.
that's all I.
anybody have anything else? That, can we get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Wow.
Any opposed? Okay, meeting ends.
You sure that you're?
Bye, everybody. Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye.